Recently, I got my hands on the newest ZFOLD and ZFLIP 5 thanks to AT&T, and as a Pixel fan that hasn't used a Samsung device since the Note 8, I am shocked to see how far One UI has come over the years. Because of that, let's talk about my experience with One UI on Samsung's latest devices and share some of the top features that I've been enjoying so far. Starting with a super underrated feature that has been surprisingly in Samsung devices since 2017, which is app pairs for multitasking. Samsung's implementation is pretty clean here. You can save an app pair during a split screen session by clicking on the three-dot menu and then hitting the star icon. From there, you get the option to add the two as an app pair to either the Edge panel or as a shortcut on your home screen, which is a really convenient feature to have. Something interesting regarding the Z Fold series specifically is you do have the option to add the app pair in your taskbar as well, which I also think is a smart addition. This is something I myself as a Pixel Fold user has been wishing that Google would implement, so to actually have hands-on experience with this feature just makes me only want it more. It's nice to have the choice to have my preferred shortcut easily accessible whenever I want, and the ease of use feels so good. And again, crazy that Samsung has had this feature since 2017. Next up is another long-time One UI feature that surprises me on how in-depth it is, and that's regarding default lock screen customization options. Digging around in the settings for this was really interesting considering how much flexibility Samsung offers here. For the clock face itself, there's a ton of potential for variation as you get 6 choices for the clock itself, along with the option to outright remove the clock face altogether. On top of that, you have a nice variety of fonts and color options based on your wallpaper as well, and gradient options too for that extra flair. Samsung also included multiple size options in the form of this little window that overall give you a great deal of control on how you want your lock screen to look. Additionally, I learned about the lock screen widgets interface that you can access with a tap on the clock face. It doesn't do much, but you get convenient shortcuts to your weather, calendar updates, digital well-being stats, and more. I just wish this was opened up to third-party developers because it would make a huge difference in functionality being able to place any widget here instead of just the default Samsung one. Speaking of third-party developers though, one last lock screen customization feature has to do with shortcuts. Lock screen shortcuts sit at the bottom corners of your screen and can be accessed with a quick swipe. As you would expect, there's options for system commands like do not disturb or the flashlight. As I alluded to earlier, Samsung takes it a step further and implements the option to access any third-party app that you have installed on your device, which I just find to be a really small but super convenient feature. A nice little customization feature I don't see talked about enough in One UI is the theme store. These days, Samsung is basically the only manufacturer left doing this, and I'm still surprised by its functionality even today. If you haven't used the Samsung theme store in a while, you can basically revamp your entire OS visuals with a few quick taps. Typically, themes have many components to them, including custom icons, OS-wide color tweaks to the dialer, notification shade, and other Samsung apps. You can even get custom always-on display clocks from these themes, and in the case of the Z Flip series, some will include a custom cover screen wallpaper as well, which is a really nice touch. Granted, there are a lot of themes on here that look dated, so you do have to do a fair amount of digging to find the best ones. Thankfully, they are pretty cheap, not to mention Samsung implemented a 10-minute free trial system, so you can at least use them for a little bit before you buy. Pop-up windows is my next area of focus, and again, I'm surprised by the functionality here. As you know, you can do a lot with floating windows, like initiate a split screen session, go to full screen, or even change the transparency of the window. Something that really caught my eye was the ability to tuck away these pop-up windows into a floating bubble, and from there, you can easily bring that window back with a quick tap. I find this really useful for referencing documents or notes without cluttering my screen with a split screen session, and overall, it's one of those features that makes me wonder why more companies aren't doing this too. One UI also has a new feature just implemented recently called Bixby Custom Voice. It works just like the Pixel call screening feature, but instead you can use Bixby to take a call on your behalf. I'm happy with the functionality, but Samsung took it a step further by giving you the option to make an AI model of your own voice. Then you can use that AI model to literally have a phone conversation on your behalf. I'm not sure what devices get this, but I know that the Z Flip and Z Fold 4 and up get it, and I believe the Galaxy S23 series does as well. Either way, you can find this in the dedicated Bixby app, go to language, and you should see a new option for creating a custom voice. Doing this will initiate a tutorial where you say a few phrases so that the model can make a copy of your voice, and after about 10 minutes, you should see a new option for the voice model you just created. Funny enough, this voice model can also replace the default Bixby assistant voice in general, which is kind of creepy hearing your voice as the virtual assistant, or you can use this voice model to speak for you in the Bixby text-to-call feature. I've got to be honest, it's not a very convincing AI version of you, but for a select few, this should be super useful. Lastly, I wanted to dedicate the final feature to a Samsung classic with Good Lock. Every user should know about Good Lock by now, but if not, it's basically a Samsung-built platform with the ability to effectively download your own plugins for your device. These plugins add a lot of additional functionality like extra customization options for the lock screen, extra options for the navigation bar, a custom interface where you can build your own clock face, you can install tweaks to make your camera have new options, and much more than I have time to go over in this video. The way I see it, Good Lock gets people as close as possible to the functionality of a rooted device without all the frustration of flashing and looking up guides. It's just a simple interface that gives users more control over their devices, and for this reason alone, I feel swayed to try a Samsung device as my new main phone because I just love customization. It's one of my favorite things about Android, and if I had it my way, every manufacturer would have their own personal versions of Good Lock. At the end of the day, I have to say I was pleasantly surprised with what One UI has to offer, especially for someone less familiar with Samsung devices. Since I was a bit newer, I wanted to start my Samsung coverage just going over my basic general features, but many of you guys have also suggested an in-depth look of One UI 6, which I'm happy to cover maybe sometime after the stable release of Android 14. Other than that, guys, leave some comments and let me know as a newer Samsung user, are there any features that I didn't talk about that deserve a mention? I know One UI is so massive that I'm sure it's easy to forget, but if you do have anything we should know about, leave a comment and let me know. Either way, guys, I am getting out of here so I can start working on the next video. This has been Jordan Floyd with 9 to 5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.